Super Cool Radio.
Hello, everyone. I am Matthew Thomas. This is Super Cool Radio. Have a great guest with me at this time. He's the band director and guitarist for Bret Michaels. He's an author and also has his own candle company that is Shining Soul. Please welcome Pete Evick.
Hello, Matthew. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing really good. I've definitely been looking forward to chatting with you. I think we're going to have a really great time.
It's going to be great. I'm certain of it already.
Right on. I know we got much to discuss with the new music coming out and everything that you are working on, but I'm going to start with this question. What is one thing that you learned about yourself because of the pandemic?
I learned a lot of things about myself. I think we all did.
Definitely.
I don't know if I learned about myself, but what I have said with questions similar to that is I learned what I don't need. It was very eye-opening and let you trim a lot of fat out of your life if you let that come in. I believe in the world we live in, there's an enormous amount of static, an enormous amount of noise. And COVID taught me very specifically what and who I do not need in my life. I don't know if that's the kind of answer you're looking for, but that's what I have.
No, I completely agree. There's so much going on. I mean, obviously with everything, there's still a lot of things going on, but at least for me, I kind of whittled down like everything that I needed to do. Like I just did it, I did everything to like the bare necessities at that point.
Right.
And I think it really showed people like you don't need all of this stuff going on in your life.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. It's terrible what happened, but I think that overall society may have came out of this better. Maybe I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but I feel like a lot of people are like me. You just said the same thing. You were able to cut out an enormous amount of the static in your life, it sounds like, and maybe make time for the things that are really important. And I think that's what we all came through with it.
No, I definitely know what you mean. I think people's mentalities are better now, like because you didn't know what was happening either day to day or sometimes hour to hour. So I think people have like better mentalities about stuff and are kind of better equipped like in situations like this.
Sure. And even though I live in the entertainment industry myself, I'm shooting myself in the foot to say something like this, but I think a lot of people really started to care less about celebrity. I think the world woke up to how unimportant the Kardashians are, for example. And I'm not to say, I still have my heroes. I still have my rock stars that I look up to, and my best friend in the entire world is one of the biggest rock stars on the planet, and he's very there's value to him, but the tabloid version of celebrity, I think, finally got washed away more than no one cares about some of that stuff, and I think the pandemic really opened everyone's eyes to how unimportant it is to try in your life to keep up with Hollywood.
I definitely agree. I think it really shows like the human aspect of celebrities because like everybody went through the same thing. Like they weren't exempt from what was going on. Like,
right.
And I think that really just shows like the human side of it, that they're just people.
That's right. And it was a opportunity for a lot of them to, celebrities' really interesting lifestyle is you get molded into having to feel like the second you walk out of your house, you have to look and act like the people they think you are. right? And for like people like Ellen and a lot of the talk show hosts and the Jimmy Kimmels and all that stuff, it gave them an opportunity to take the costume off, and they loved it. They loved doing the shows from their house and letting you see them with messy hair and all that stuff. It opened up a whole different world of a gate to that I thought that was very interesting and endearing to be able to see some of that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And it seems like they were having, as you said, a really fun time just doing it. You know, I saw like I think it was either Fallon or Kimmel. I don't exactly remember, but he was wearing like sweatpants for one of the late night shows and stuff. So it just
Yeah.
shows like that they don't have to wear a suit or dress up or do everything all the time.
Right. The intellect is the content, not the clothes you're wearing or how your hair looks. And I think we learned all that.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. And I know you did allude to him. So for Bret Michaels, you are the band director, you're the guitarist for almost 2 decades now. I believe 19 years at this point.
I think it's 19 years today or tomorrow. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I did not know that, but that's really cool. So I know you've discussed this a lot, but for my audience, or anyone not familiar with you, how did you and Bret first meet?
So the story can be enormously long, or I can shorten it.
Up to you.
I'll try to give you the medium version. I was a giant Poison fan. I played Poison songs in my high school talent shows every year, all 4 years. You know, when you're in a band in high school, you get to play 3 songs at your talent show or whatever. And each year there was at least one Poison song. I know we did Cry Tough one year, we did Skinny Bop one year. We did Nothing But a Good Time one year. And I think that I went back and did Cry Tough again in my senior year. I was a giant Poison fan. I understood what it was about. And I loved it, and I embraced it. And then in '92, when CeCe left the band, I had to contact the management information and all that stuff, and I was able to put an audition tape in to try to join Poison. And I was too young by that. I was just out of high school, and they picked Richie Kotzen out of thousands and thousands of people. Because I was from Virginia, I literally grew up 60 miles from where Bret grew up. We're really only about 60 miles apart. And I thought that maybe I was a shoo-in from being part of that mid-Atlantic community. But they took Richie Kotzen. They were nice enough to call and tell me that. And I kept that management contact information. And then years later, Bret went out and did a solo tour. And I called and got hooked up on several of the East Coast dates. I was able to be his opening act on the East Coast run. And then the next year he came back through again with a different band. And I was able to once again do a run of stuff with my band Evick as his opener. And we had a great time. And Bret's a little elusive during the day. He does meet and greets after the show, and he meets every single fan, and he has a history of being incredible to the fans. But that's usually after the show. During the day, you don't really see him. But it turns out that he was watching through his bus window all the time. During one of the shows, or 2 of the nights we played with him, we brought this huge camera crew in, and we're shooting a video for our song "This Ain't the Life." And he was watching that happen from outside his bus. And, if you'd ask him, he would tell you that he was just impressed that the local opening act was putting such an effort in to make this music video. He was watching me direct it and watching me kind of be the boss through the window all day, which is funny to me. I had no idea. But anyway, the third year came around of him doing solo stuff, and his guitar player and me had become really, really tight buddies, and the guitar player had decided he wasn't going to continue the next year. And every year so far, he'd replaced the entire band with a new band. I just thought that was kind of what happened. So the opportunity came for me to be his guitar player for that next year. And in my head, I thought I'd do it for a year. Again, everyone else had only done it for a year. And I was prepared. And then he called me one day and he said, I have this small radio gig in Nashville or in Detroit, and instead of me bringing my band that you haven't rehearsed with yet, why don't you just bring your band and we'll be the band? And he knew we were giant Poison fans, and so his idea of Little and my idea of Little are completely different things. And I got up there and we were unrehearsed. He just gave us a list of songs to know. We never got together, never went over the songs. They were Poison songs. And it was 15,000 people. So that wasn't little to me, right? And it was terrible. We played great. He played great. What neither of us had considered was that we were playing those Poison songs exactly as they were recorded on the records. But over 20-some years, live, the songs had evolved. And without us sitting down and rehearsing and playing together, there wasn't that communication. So while the audience probably didn't think it was bad at all, I felt the pull from him and he felt the pull from the band. And so he called me up later that week. I remember walking away going, oh my God. Well, I had one shot and I'd blown it. And I'd never really blown anything in my life. I'd been pretty good and successful at my goals to that point. So that was what I considered my first life failure ever. And he called and he goes, well, how do you think that went? And I was like, oh, it's terrible. That was terrible. And he goes, well, I'm glad you say that. If you would have thought it was good, then we would have had a problem. But the fact that you recognize that was terrible, he goes, I have another show, Nashville, Tennessee. And he told me this time I got all the specs. It was 33,000 people, sold out show opening for Leonard Skinner at the Starwood Amphitheater. And right before we went on, he said, Pete, I've watched your band. I know you. I know how great you guys are. Just go out there and be your band with me singing. Don't think anything of it. Just go be your band. And we went and we played. And at the end of nothing but a good time, he smiled at me and we did a little high five, which to this day we've never done again. 19 years later, and there's never been another. It's not neither of our things. We're not high fivers, but for some reason we did that. And then 19 years later, here we are. Traveled the world, 4 Billboard Top 40 records, number one video, several number one videos on the VH1 Countdown till they stopped doing that. All kinds of things I never dreamed of doing. Every goal I ever had has been exceeded. Everything I ever dreamed of, I've been able to do because of him. And here we are.
It's really awesome. And I think one of the cool points about that is that you guys both recognize that first show, after the first show, that it wasn't the best. It didn't mesh, but you guys gave it another shot. And it sounds like obviously it worked because you're still here 19 years later doing it with Bret Michaels. And that's really awesome.
It's absolutely true.
but also like, for Bret, he's done huge stadium shows and tours and all that. That 15,000 people is considered a small show for him. It's kind of funny.
Without a doubt. Yep, that's true. It's crazy the crowds he pulls. We've done. I remember on the 5th of July, even though it was 4th of July weekend, it was 4th of July celebration. On the 5th of July, we played under the arch in St. Louis for 125,000 people. You couldn't even comprehend where the people were. They were out into the streets and off into the sides and behind us, piled up to the river, and it was amazing. That kind of stuff you see in the European metal festivals. You don't see a lot of 125,000 people in the United States, and we've done it a couple of times. We did it in Idaho too, right at the hit of Rock of Love. We did some radio festival with us, and I think God forgive me, it was either New Kids on the Block or NSYNC. It was one of the two of those guys, and it was 100 and some thousand people. And I remember seeing in the newspaper the next morning the helicopter shot, and it was unbelievable to think I got to be a part of something like that.
Yeah, definitely. Like looking out of the the huge crowd, like does it register with you right away? Like how many people are actually there?
When you're on the stage, to me, it never has. You don't see past the first few anyway, so I don't comprehend. I mean, you can go walk out and you can hear the energy and you can feel the energy, but visually, you lose perception after a certain distance anyway, right? When you're outside. When you're inside in an inside arena, you can comprehend it because you can see the end of it and see the stadium going up or the arena going up. But yeah, those outside things, you just go out there and you go for it, and you just feed the energy it's unbelievable. It's like a battery recharging thing. But yeah, as far as comprehending it, there's when you're on the stage, I don't know that there's much difference in 5,000 and 125,000 while you're performing.
No, I got you, definitely. I've never really been. I've been part of like stadium shows and all that, but not like not 125,000 people. Things
Right.
being caught up. I've seen photos, I've seen video of it, but it probably something else to be there.
Oh, it's amazing, without a doubt.
And for you, what is your favorite Poison and Bret Michaels song?
Oh, geez, buddy. Um,
I'm giving you the hard questions for this one.
so the favorite Poison song is there's multiple answers to that. Cry Tough off the first record is probably one of the most important songs of my life. It landed me where I'm at today. I would not be speaking to you today if it wasn't for Cry Tough. The song grabbed me when I was a very young kid when it first came out. A buddy of mine used to go to Los Angeles like once a month and get all the local bands tapes and releases and bring them back to us, and we would be riding our bikes on our suburban street in the evenings, and we'd be listening to new bands that no one had heard yet. And at one particular time he'd gotten back and he's like, this is a brand new band, Poison, this is their record. And I begged him if I could take his tape home that night, and I don't know that I ever gave it back, but it had that whatever that particular song, Cry Tough, had this huge impact on me. Moving forward, the Flesh and Blood record has a song on it called Life Loves a Tragedy. It's the last song on the record. I have the lyrics to that tattooed on my arm. It's a very powerful song, very lyrically, the message was big and important to me. So that's probably, those two songs are probably my favorite songs. But live, my favorite is Ride the Wind.
Nice. Those very very solid songs, and definitely very close and meaningful to you, which is really awesome. I actually didn't know you had the lyrics tattooed on your arm, and that's really cool, and just another connection with that song as well.
Yeah. And then as far as the Bret Michaels solo stuff, that becomes weird because, he had 2 records before I was in the band and 4 since I've been in the band. So picking what my favorite stuff is hard because I'm obviously going to pick the stuff that I wrote. But before I moved to that, on his first 2 records, he had a song called Open Road. It was kind of a country single. And it's a smash hit song. The message in it's great. The vibe in it's great. The song, I love the song tremendously. I love All I Ever Needed, which was his first ballad release. And we've reworked that song a little bit. I like our version a lot, but the song's great. He had a song called Bittersweet that had an enormous amount of energy and a funny story to it that I really, 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 really loved. I still love. As far as the stuff that I've written with him, Go That Far, which is the theme to Rock of Love, was the first song that me and him ever wrote together. And I think because it was the first song in my life that I was part of that was considered a hit. It was number 1 on the VH1 charts for 14 weeks in a row, or maybe 21 weeks, 14 or 21, I'm not sure. But it was it was put in the Guitar Hero 3 game, which was for 2 years, that was the only game that mattered in the whole world. And there was my guitar riff in that song, in that game. And it was used as the theme to the Miss Universe pageant at one year. So that song is powerful to me. It put me on the map. It gave me a credit as a songwriter, as a producer, and a guitar player that I hadn't had till then. So I love that. But there's also a song called Riding Against the Wind that became the theme song to the other show, Life as I Know It. And that's probably my favorite song of all the stuff that we've done together. And then Unbroken, we did that song Unbroken a couple years ago with his daughter singing on it. And I don't know that that's my favorite song, but it's probably the one I'm absolutely the most proud of. It came out exactly like it was supposed to. It is crafted perfectly. When we listen back to it, there's no we could have done this or we should have done that. It is exactly as it was intended, sonically, musically, energy. So that, every song has a reason or purpose, and I like them all for different reasons.
No, I really like that. I know it's a tough question. I know asking that it's a tough question for you, but I really like the songs you were talking about and the reasons behind that as well. I think that it's really awesome. I do appreciate you answering that question. I know some people.
I like the hard questions. Go for it.
I know some people shy away from it, but I really appreciate it. But big news for you! You recently released 2 songs and your first original single under your own name in over a decade. But I do want to talk about the '99 Red Balloons cover you did first.
Okay.
What was the inspiration for covering that '80s hit?
Again, I'll try to make the story short, but it's an enormously long story. I was born in 1972. I was raised in the 70s and 80s when the threat of nuclear war was just it's what we lived through. In school, we had, you hear about these things where they would have us get under our desks and bomb threats, and it petrified me. I was terrified of it. I had to seek therapy in elementary school because of my fear that the bombs were dropping all the time. And in 1983, 84, that '99 Red Balloons song came out, and I grabbed it and I used it as my own therapy. I felt like, oh my God, someone feels the way I do. It's a war protest song. It's an anti-nuclear war song. And I don't know that a lot of people really ever understood that, because most of the time here in the United States, even though there was an American version of it lyrically, it was MTV always showed the German version, because the woman that wrote it and sang it, Nina's German. And I don't know if you know this or not, she is still a current valuable force in the music industry in Germany. She still sells out stadiums out there. She still continues to write more music. She's better looking and in better shape than she ever was. And she's still she's an icon over there. She's Madonna over there, or you know what I mean? And anyway, I held onto the song, and it was an important part of getting me through my childhood. And it's really weird. I've said in a few other interviews, looking back, I was full on by that time in 6th grade. I was full on Van Halen, Kiss, Quiet Riot, and Def Leppard, and Ozzy Osbourne. And I wasn't a new waver. As much as I love all of that stuff now, Cyndi Lauper and Duran Duran and all. I love it all now. But back then, you wouldn't catch me even saying the word Duran Duran. So the fact that song that was from that kind of new wave synth pop stuff snuck into my brain, that was powerful in itself, But I loved it, and I carried it with me. And then this war broke out in the Ukraine, and it broke my heart, and it paralyzed me, and I reverted back to 13-year-old me again, and all. I could not believe the headlines were saying just the word nuclear. I couldn't believe I was seeing that. You know what I mean? And the word Russia and the word nuclear, it was just like, is life and time just going backwards? And I was consumed by it. I irritated everyone around me for a couple of days. No one wanted to speak to me. No one. They just were tired of hearing me talk about this is happening. So I went into my studio and I found the song again. I pulled it out of my heart, and I just started playing it and singing it and strumming it and just using it as therapy to deal with what I was going through myself, And then I recorded it, and I sent it to a couple of people that are real honest with me about my life, and they tell me whether it's good or bad. They aren't yes men, and it was unanimous that it was cool, that people thought it was cool, and so because of that, I thought that I would shoot a video And the opening of the video is a nod back to the original video where she's walking around in a field. But then when the song kicks in, I just put all the footage of the destruction and everything going on in the Ukraine behind me and the guys playing. And my hope was, I know a lot of people, especially since COVID, that have literally just turned the news off. There's a whole movement of, I can't watch the news. I don't want to know. And I don't believe in that. And so I thought, well, if you're not going to watch the news, maybe you'll watch my video and see what's happening. Let me show you what is happening in the rest of the world. And, I didn't tie the song to any particular charity, but I was hoping that there's so many charities and ways to give and help Ukraine that I just hope people would see the song, see the video, see the destruction in the images, and choose to try to help whatever way they can. I tried very hard to find a way to go over there, to be honest with you. I had it in my head for a couple of weeks that I was going to get over there, land in Poland, and then just put my acoustic guitar on my back and walk into the Ukraine. And I was going to go down to that subway station that they were all hiding in, and I was just going to sing for them. I had it in my head I was going to do that. I went as far as to go behind Bret's back and talk to Bret's pilots about what it would cost to just fly his plane. Bret has his plane, how to get over there. And they all just thought I was crazy. No one was going to do that. They were like, you understand that if you just think you're going to walk through that border from Poland, that you're going to get shot, you're going to die. And at that point, I was ready because I couldn't comprehend. You can talk conspiracy theories, you can like CNN, you can like Fox, you can hate one or the other. Whatever you want to believe, people are dying over there. You can't fake that. And it's civilians. There's a lot of, if you dig deep enough into the conspiracies and rabbit holes, the president of Ukraine was a former actor. I don't know if you know that.
I do, yes.
Award-winning actor whose biggest role was playing the president.
Yep.
So he has a head up with propaganda, and he has a leg up on Putin on propaganda and selling his side of this. And there's a lot of people that kind of think that might be happening. You know what I mean? But no matter who's selling their side of the story better, civilians are dying, and it's fucked up. And that's all there is to it.
No, I definitely agree. And with everything that is going on, if you boil everything down, if you don't pay attention to conspiracies, all that stuff, people are dying over there, and innocent people who, they're just trying to live their life and they're getting either shot or blown up or anything. It's very sad. And I know I didn't live, during the Cold War of the 80s, so I don't really know the nuclear threats that were back then. But seeing it captioned on news, just like Russia, considering nuclear strike and all that stuff, it's very terrifying. It's very, unnerving, especially with just all that is going on. It's just scary, for me to see it on the news, but for you to relive what was going on in the 80s now, it's got to be completely different. What's
funny is when it all started, I didn't want to talk about it to anyone. I talked to my close friends about it, but I didn't want to talk a lot about it. And I've done probably 9 or 10 interviews now with people like yourself, and every one of them has come back to me and said that they felt it too, and they felt the terror, the terror of seeing that word. And I'm glad I'm not alone in that, man, because I just thought I was crazy and selfish, and why do I care? Why should I care? I'm over here playing sold out shows and playing Rockstar. Who wants to listen to me talk about this when they're dying over there? I felt really weird about my opinion on it. And then to hear, and again, hearing it from you, a younger generation who did not go through what me and my peers and friends went through in the 80s, hearing that it affected you, that just struck a nerve with me. That's tremendous to me. And it's proof that it's real, and I understand that the news outlets at this point in life are using scare tactics. I understand that, but the fact is those are quotes. Putin said those things. So scare me all you want. he said it. There's video footage of him saying these things. He said it today, right? I hate to tell you, but right before I logged on to you, I was watching him talk. And what did he say today? Make no mistakes. We have the tools to act swiftly if anyone truly interferes, and we feel have stopped us from any other person other than the Ukraine have stopped us from obtaining our goals. We are going to act swiftly, or whatever he said. I was fascinated because right before I started talking to you, he's still going at it, and I thought he was in the hospital and something. Well, I don't know, but it's just my biggest fear is that the guy's an egomaniac. And you have to be an egomaniac to be a world leader. So I'm not, to be a guitar player in a rock band, you have to be an egomaniac. There's a certain level to succeed like that you have to be neurotic, and you have to be almost what's the word? There's a word, narcissistic. You have to be to have the drive to get. You can't be a world leader without some sort of narcissism. You have to be. And with that being said, the worst thing about all of this is that he didn't take that little tiny country over in 24 hours. And when an egomaniac's embarrassed, they'll stop at nothing. And I'm more afraid now, with each passing day that he's not succeeding, the more egg he has on his face. Something. I mean, he'll die for this now, because he has to go down. He's going down in history. He's making his place in history. So in his brain, he's got to be thinking, do I go down? What's my last stand here? What do I just say? Is my mark in world history that I couldn't win the Ukraine back for Ukraine? Or is my mark that I launched every bomb I could at everybody I could and went out in a blaze of glory? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think his name will go down, in infamy, for obviously wrong reasons, but his name will be in the record book.
The embarrassing thing about all this is, to this day, we're the only country that's ever dropped one, and we dropped two. So sometimes it's like, who are we to say you can't drop one? We did it, And I understand we learn from our mistakes, and I understand that, but I believe that Putin's not going to drop it on the Ukraine because he wants that land. So why ruin that land? But I do believe that he's crazy enough to fire one at us, knowing that we have the technology to shoot it down, knowing that it's never really going to hit us, but he's going to be able to say, I did it. I'm the one that did what all you people want to do. I did what the Middle East wants to do, and I did what China wants to do, and I did what North Korea wants to do. And I think that that's what he wants his legacy to be.
Yeah, I think so. It's unfortunate. A lot of people are unnecessarily suffering for this, for really just to please one person. I think that is a true shame.
Right. And we're in a world of living in fear again. It's ridiculous, man. You know what I mean? But it is what it is.
No, exactly. But no, I do appreciate you talking about it and everything, and obviously covering 99 Red Balloons and getting the word out and message that if people aren't paying attention to what's going on in the news or anything, that they at least get a little bit of taste of it. And
hopefully, what's interesting? I've forgotten to talk about this on almost every single interview that I've done, but the 99 Red Balloons song has made it onto a very popular music chart in the UK, and it's been on it for 5 weeks now. And we entered at number 30, and we are up to number 20 this week with it. And it's really unique to me to see that I'm on the chart with the Scorpions and other bands that the United States is so small. And a lot of us think that we know everything about everything, and that anything that happens in the United States is global. But I'm on this chart right now with UB40 and Men Without Hats and Mickey Dolenz and the Scorpions, Pink Floyd, and all these artists that are still releasing new music and are still viable around the world that we think don't do anything anymore. It's interesting to me, and it's great to be on that chart. I'm honored to. That's my first real international success of any kind. So after all these years in the music business.
Well, hey, I'm really happy about for you about that song as well. And it is interesting. Like, you think the people who like the one hit wonders, or like 99 Red Balloons, for example. I didn't know she's still active, that she's still selling out shows and all that. I had no idea.
You got to look it up. In fact, she does a version of her own song, 99 Red Balloons, now, and she's singing in German, but I can tell the words are completely different of something I saw her do just this year. And so somewhere along the line, she's rewritten it about probably the world we're in today,
Yeah.
But it's awesome. She's performing, and the band's great, and she's great. It's worth checking out.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to really check that out, because I'm very curious about how just the evolution of just herself, and just that she's still active. I'm definitely gonna check that out now.
Right on.
But real quick, so you did release a new original song that is entitled "My Best Days." How was it writing and recording that, and actually releasing a song more than a decade after releasing your last material?
So when I write Evick music, I tend to lyrically approach it what I call the Bon Jovi, John Cougar Mellencamp approach. Well, you're from Indiana, so do you know Mellencamp?
Yes,
you got to know who he is.
Oh no, of course I do. I'm familiar with him. Yes,
he's one of my favorite artists of all time. I love his hometown lyric approach, his about the people approach. I love that. That's who I am and what I write about. However, once I ended up in Bret's band, life changed for me, and I was I was in penthouse suites in New York City, and I was at the Playboy Mansion, and I was in private planes, and I was in cush dressing rooms in giant arenas, and I felt like I didn't have anything to say that anyone could relate to. I don't know that I could have written a song about me and, and today I flew on this private plane. You didn't get to do that. No one wants to hear that. That's my dog. This is Boba.
What's your dog's name?
Boba's more famous to me, and it is Star Wars Day, and he's named after Boba Fett. But
that's awesome.
Boba's more famous to me. He has 15,000 Instagram followers.
Not right on. We'll bring him back on. I want to get some more followers.
Come here. 150,000 TikTok followers too.
Jeez, well, good for him. Good for him.
So I just felt like I didn't have anything that I could sing that anyone would relate to, because I like to write relatable lyrics, And then once COVID happened and all that shut down, I found myself me again. And I was able to write some things. And Best Days to me is just, it's a very important message, because we're in a world today where everyone's talking about back in the day. Everyone's like, oh, I wish that it was the 80s again, or I wish it was the 90s. No one seems to like the world we're in right now. Right. And I just kept thinking, if this is it, then I wasn't suicidal or anything, but like, what's the point of this if all we're going to do is talk about how cool 1988 was, and so I was inspired to write, the lyric is, I've lived my life with no regrets. I have a million stories I can't forget. It's been a hell of a ride, but I'm willing to bet my best days aren't behind me yet. And it was just a reach to people to say, tomorrow's going to be better. Tomorrow's got to be better. Something cool's got to be coming, maybe not for the whole world, but something for you, whatever, something for everybody. There's got to be something cool coming. And I just I felt like it was a message that at least my generation really needed to hear. I felt like a little positive inspiration might go a long way in this it's like me and my business partner, Darren, were talking the other day. I am done. I've had enough living through historical events. We've had enough of them for our lifetime. There's going to be a whole set of history books just about the last couple of years when we're all dead and gone. You know what I mean? And so that's what the song was about moving forward instead of the past. But I do like nostalgia. So I in producing the song, I did everything I could to intentionally produce it to sound like a Bon Jovi song from the 80s. So when you put it on, when I was a kid, that's where I went to feel good, was the New Jersey record, Bon Jovi Slippery When Wet or New Jersey record. And, you know, uh, there was a era where, even though Bon Jovi was one of the biggest bands in the world, there was this little era where metalhead dudes weren't supposed to like Bon Jovi. You know, James Hetfield used to have a guitar that said something about Bon Jovi sucks or something, and you had to follow suit to what Metallica said, right? You had to believe in James. He, you know, and so, but I never fell for it. I was always a Bon Jovi fan, and so sometimes I'd have to go listen to it in my car by myself because no one else, you know. And it's weird. I say no one else wanted to, but the dude was selling out 3 and 4 night stadiums every night all over the world, you know. But you know what I'm saying? As a young guy, it wasn't man rock like Metallica or Ozzy was, you know what I'm saying? So, but I found an enormous amount of joy and happiness in the Bon Jovi stuff. And when I wrote this song, I wanted to produce it and use the sounds and the tempos and the energy that reminded me of when I would put that song on and get in my car and drive to the beach. So that's how it came about.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool to get that kind of mindset for it, and to remind people, like even for me, I know I'm very young, but I still reminisce to 5-10 years ago, like where stuff was a little bit different for me. But for anyone really that the best day, there's still cool things that might be small cool things that happen every couple of days, but at least it's still moments and memories to make.
Right. That's right. The moments. That's exactly it.
But it was cool. I was on another podcast, First Listen Media, and I was talking to a host of a metal podcast, a metal cooking podcast. And he was talking about growing up like in the 80s being a metalhead, but also he liked Wham and Duran Duran, but he couldn't admit that to his metalhead friends because he would get laughed at, but he still secretly liked those bands.
Yeah. I wasn't a big Duran Duran fan back in the day. Now they're one of my favorite bands of all time. I do an acoustic gig and I play a couple Duran Duran songs in the acoustic gig. And I love Cyndi Lauper to death, and all that stuff. But back then I was and always a Bon Jovi fan, a John Cougar Mellencamp fan, and a Bryan Adams fan. Those I loved those guys back in the day, and I didn't hide that much. I do remember. I do have a memory of we would all walk around the block with our boom box. Me and 4 or 5 of my friends. One of us would have a boom box, and it was always Motley Crue or Van Halen or whatever. And I live and die for Van Halen. They're my favorite band in the whole world. They're everything in the world to me, and I live and die for it. But I remember when Born in the USA came out, none of my friends wanted anything to do with it. And so I would walk with them around the block, but I'd walk a couple steps behind them with my own little boombox, listening to Born in the USA. So, yeah.
That's very cool. And from Indiana, of course, I like John Mellencamp. Of course, I know there's one radio station here. I'm pretty sure every day they play one of his songs. So I think you have to if you're a radio station in Indiana. I think that's mandatory.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
I can tell you're a Van Halen fan. I see a guitar behind you as well, so I can definitely.
There's 2 of them behind me. See the other one?
We got black and yellow. Nice.
And a Van Halen T-shirt. And
nice.
I have a Van Halen. I think I have my Van Halen hoodie on too. Look at that. There's my Van Halen. Yeah, it's a lot.
No, honestly, I really like them. My brother, he's a huge fan of Van Halen, and that's who got me into listening to like the harder rock music. So no, I totally feel you, man.
Right on.
But as I wrap this interview, I kept you a little bit longer, but I having a really great time chatting with you.
It feels like it was 5 minutes to me. So
that's what I go for. As long as we're having fun and a great conversation, that is awesome. But gonna put you on the spot. What is your favorite music? Oh, sorry. What is your favorite moment from your music career so far, or a few moments?
Jeez. I was fortunate enough that me and Bret got to get up and play 4 songs in Las Vegas with Sammy Hagar. And so having Bret and Sammy on the stage together and me playing guitar to this day is still Sometimes I don't believe it's real. I have to go back and look at the video that really happened, you know. And then later that night, Sammy texted Bret and said, "You tell Pete anywhere, anytime, he's welcome on my stage." And Sammy's my favorite, man. He's my favorite singer. He's my favorite dude. He's my favorite everything. So to get that from him, that's huge. You know, there's every night on stage when we do the first big chord to Every Rose Has Its Thorn. Every night that moment's my favorite moment. You know, we hit that big note and we hold it out, and the people just, you know, that song. The song changed the music industry in a lot of ways, and I think a lot of people forget that. It was the first hard rock song to ever also cross over into the country charts, ever, right? And overnight, every single band, no matter who you were, you had to have a song like that overnight in the same key, in the same tempo. Even bands that were before Poison had to have that, and so it's every night. It's the moment we hit that note is my favorite moment, I guess you would say. You know, and then there's just been a lot of neat moments. You know, I could go on, but probably those two things are what's important to me.
Yeah, they definitely sound like, especially in the compliment and open invitation from Sammy Hagar, a true rock legend like that. That is amazing.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
For sure.
I remember that day. You know, there was another moment when Bret was on Sammy's TV show, Rock and Roll Roadshow, and we were on some kind of down break, and me and Sammy were just sitting on a bench together, and I was playing with acoustic guitar, and I would play these obscure Van Halen riffs, not the popular stuff, and I played this one particular riff, a song called 5150. And actually, I played a song called Summer Nights. He goes, "You can play that?" And I said, "Yeah." And we kind of talked and laughed. And he said, he goes, "Man, don't let anyone ever let you tell me different. You're all right, man. You're a great player." And you know, as a musician, nothing's ever enough. So I remember you play your first gig and you want a bigger gig, and then you want another gig. And I remember it was later in my life that I joined Bret's band, and I remember getting that far and going, "Oh, all right, if I just do this for a year, all the effort and all the years were worth it, and I could put this away, and I can go and, I can walk away from this." And that's not the case, because then we did a shed tour opening up for Leonard Skinner, and we were doing the giant amphitheaters. And then I was like, I remember saying to myself after that, going, "All right, after that, I'm going to tell Bret that I'm going to go back and just go back to living my life and raising my children." And there's always something that comes and you walk away with this itch that, and when Sammy said that to me, everything in my life changed at that moment. There was this, if it's all over tomorrow, you did it. I finally it was his approval made me feel like all the sacrifice, all the, years when you're a kid, you're begging your friends to come to your show, and you're calling everyone up, and you're taking their money for their $5 cover charge at these bars, and you're turning your back on your family. And the sacrifice you make on a normal life just to be a local club band, and what you beg for and try to count on your friends and family to help you get to that success, you just wonder, was it worth it? And was that really worth it? And when he said that to me, I just went, "Oh, everything that ever happened was worth it. Sammy Hagar thinks I'm good enough." You know what I mean? But I will tell you, I'm not going to discredit Bret for that, because I'm not going to take away from Bret, because Bret's the greatest front man in rock and roll, and he's my best friend. And I remember us being in the studio playing something, and I got really frustrated, and I said something like, "I just want this to be like Van Halen, and I can't make this guitar solo sound like Van Halen." And Bret said to me, "Pete, I'd rather you play than Eddie on this. And it was overwhelming that you know what I'm saying? That Bret, I guess I've been there 19 years, so I guess he does like what I do. You know what I mean? But it was really neat to think that for that moment, I realized he was choosing to have me. Does that make sense? Because he knew Ed. He could have called Eddie Van Halen and said, "Hey, can you come play on this track?" Or anyone. He could call Slash, and it never occurred to me that until that moment in the studio that it was me that he had chose to play that stuff. What an incredible honor that guy can do and have anybody on the records he wants. You know what I mean?
No, I totally know what you mean. With all of his connections, all of his the music career he has, that he's working with you in the studio, and I think that speaks a lot to your caliber as a musician. You as a guitar player, and just you as a person as well.
Right. I appreciate that you recognize that.
Of course. And I think all of that is very cool. Now there's one thing I do got to touch on before I wrap up. Before I wrap up this interview, I talked about your candle company, which is Shining Soul. How did that come about? How did you start that?
All right. I'm going to tell this really, really quick. We had been filming all 3 seasons of Rock of Love. The 3rd season of Rock of Love was filmed live on tour with us. So for I think 12 weeks, 24/7, those cameras were on us. They were in the buses, they were in the dressing rooms, they were in the hotel rooms. And, they film all week long to give you a half hour of television. Right. And the band was in every episode by season 3, but we weren't characters. We weren't part of it, but we were working as hard as the main characters because the cameras were on all the time. And I was never concerned with TV. While I was proud of and happy for Bret and grateful for the success that the TV show brought our band and brought Bret, I don't care to be on TV. It was never a goal of mine. I never once woke up in the morning and go, I hope I'm on TV one day. So it exhausted me and I was out of place. And my marriage had ended during that 3rd season. And I came home to an empty house and I was burnt out for the first time in my entire life. I did not want to play the guitar. I hadn't played sports. I had no hobbies. I have no interest in anything. Guitar and Star Wars are the only 2 things that have ever mattered in my entire life. And I lit a candle in my house with all the lights off, and I was just kind of chilling out. And it was supposed to smell like a wood-burning fireplace. And I didn't like the results. And I was just sitting there in the dark at like 2 o'clock in the morning watching this candle burn. And I went, I wonder if I can do that. I wonder if I can make a candle and make it better. And so I got consumed with it. Like when I was a child learning to play guitar. And as I learned more about candle making, I learned that the wax that I was using was stuff that's made in Indiana, actually.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah. The soy wax that I use is made from the beans farmed in Indiana, all the soy farms out there.
Yep.
And because of all my years and my love for John Cougar Mellencamp, I had grown very attached to the hardship that the American farmers go through.
Yes.
And so I realized that if I can sell just one candle, that wax helped the farmer somehow, So I got really attached to the fact that maybe I could help the American economy and the American farmer. I also wanted to teach my kids entrepreneurism and show them what it's like to run a business. So I started it, and it just grew and grew and grew and grew. And today we have 30 employees, and me and my business partner, we work out of the manufacturing warehouse. We have 3 retail stores across 3 states and sell to 250 other locations around the country. We grew it into something pretty cool. I believe we make the best candle on the market. I believe it's the best candle. It's eco-friendly. I did everything I could. I worked really hard to make a superior product, and I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to drop some links for Shining Soul in the description of this podcast. Please check it out. I scoping out your store and all the products you offer. Looks like and eco-friendly. I'm very big on that, trying to not pollute the earth and leave the earth a little bit better every day. So I'm a big fan of that.
You got to do everything you can. Absolutely.
Exactly. But check out the links in the description for everything. Pete, I had a really great time.
I did too, buddy. I would keep going. I'm supposed to do another interview right this second, but I would just keep going, man. Like, I appreciate you talking to me so much.
Yeah, no problem. For Pete Evick of Bret Michaels and Evick, thank you so much for hanging out with me here on Super Cool Radio. Of course, I'm your host, as always, Matthew Thomas. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And remember, stay frosty.
Thank you, man, so much.